Hey, what's going on, guys? Mangum here, bringing you a Division 2 video. Alright, so patch notes came out for title update 10 for the PTS phase 1 that's going to go down. If you have PC access, you can access the PTS on, the PC. You can't do it on consoles, but we're not here to talk about that. So what we're here to talk about is, if you already know the patch notes, you already know the patch notes. I'm not going to go over the patch notes like in a list format. I'm here to talk about the patch notes in a way that is going to directly affect the Division agent and those who don't understand why some of these changes are going to be dramatic as changes. So the things I want to start off talking about now, if you guys hear me ruffling around the paper, I got a lot of bullet points here that I'm going to cover. So let's get into it. Backpack talent, Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush states that when you're within 10 meters of an enemy, you gain 20% bonus armor for 5 seconds, stacks up to 3 times, cooldown is 5 seconds. Now, I'm assuming that this cooldown of 5 seconds is after it's done stacked 3 times. Now, if it's done stacked 3 times and then the cooldown goes on for 5 seconds, that's a fairly good balance. Now, having it up for 5 seconds and the cooldown for 5 seconds, I don't know if that's actually necessary for that to be a thing, for it to be active for 5 seconds and a cooldown on for 5 seconds. It's again a massive plan cautiously to the fact that Division agents could end up becoming too strong if we stack up too much bonus armor. Now, the synergy with this is that it is a backpack talent, so it does go hand in hand with Intimidate. It does go with other shield builds that are already out there that utilize bonus armor once you deploy the Vanguard shield, and then that would put you in a more, let's say, defensive type of tank style play, which isn't really one of the things that we have going on for us in the game right now. Is a true tank of tanks. You can't really tank things or face tank things like you would want to. You'd have to play like highly aggressive, play anything less than heroic if you wanted to do an aggressive tank build. But this is going to bring forth another type of way that we can play as a tank. And with that, we're going to see that shield builds that were already pretty dominant in the Division 2 as of right now, they're going to get a little bit more use. They're going to get a lot more use, along with making the Liberty pistol more sought after as an exotic. Right now we don't have many things in the game that makes an exotic a sought after exotic, but now that we're gaining more synergy with the new skills that are coming up and how things are playing out with the new title update 10 and the whole loot thing, that we're going to see that pistols and Douglas and Hardy, they're going to get a lot more traction. They're going to get a lot more boots on the ground for agents out there. And this is going to be the start of an aggressive playstyle that most Division agents can't take, or not take. Take is the wrong word to say. That a lot of Division agents aren't used to playing. Now, some agents out there play aggressively, but then there's some who play the game as intended as a cover-based shooter, and they snipe and they do DPS and then they use the M1A and then do all these other things that, like I said, how the game is supposed to be played, and that's perfectly fine. But this is going to make those full body coverage shields, covers the feet, covers everything. It's going to give that shield more viability against those agents in the dark zone and in PvE activities, that it's going to allow you to push forward and be that shield that everyone was looking for to begin with. So I see this really gaining a bunch of traction, especially with the Liberty pistol having a passive type of skill that allows, when you do headshot damage and you get the headshot kill, it refreshes the shield that you have out back to, it gives it some health back. So I don't know if a lot of people know that, but the Liberty pistol does go hand in hand with the shield, because it does rebuild the shield the more kills that you get. Now, with all these buffs that are coming to the weapons and such, we're just gonna have to see how that plays out. Now, we got a weapon talent coming It is called Future Perfect. Now, Future Perfect, it grants weapon skill tier for 15 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. Weapon kills at skill tier 6 grant overcharge for 15 seconds. Overcharge cooldown is 90 seconds. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the overcharge cooldown currently, without this weapon talent procced, is 60 seconds. Now, this increases that overcharge cooldown by an extra 30 seconds. Now, I don't know if this is what they're trying to do with it, with you using this weapon talent, granting an overcharge. You get the cooldown for 90 seconds, but let's say that you are skill tier 4. You get a kill, you're skill tier 5. You get another kill, you're skill tier 6, right? You can get another kill, stacks up to 3 times. Does that put you into overcharge, or do you already have to be a skill tier 6 and then get the kill and then get overcharged for 15 seconds? If that's the case, it's going to be a little bit of a niche thing. But if it does grant you that overcharge as it continues to stack upon itself, that's just going to be more beneficial to those who wants to run an overcharge build. Then you may want to run the Acosta's backpack and then run the weapon talent Future Perfect, granting you another way to get that overcharge if you run out of grenades. And I don't know anybody out there using Energize, but this is a much needed thing for the future of overcharge. Overcharge was sitting on life support because the Acosta's backpack has the ease of use for granting that overcharge. When you throw the grenade, you get the overcharge and you get that grenade back. So it is one of the easiest ones to use, because you're not going to use Energize because you have to take damage, then use your med kit or your armor plate replacement thing, and then when you do that, you burn through an armor kit, you grant overcharge, then you have to use your skill. It's just a whole mess. Energize, I think, should function in a way to grant you, if you're already skill tier 6, when you deploy your skill, it grants you overcharge for 15 seconds, taking out the whole mechanic that you need to use an armor plate, or combine efficient and energize together to become a perfectly efficient overcharge build. That's the way that I think that should work, because efficient is a good talent in its own, but there are too many other DPS talents sitting in that chess piece slot that keeps you from using efficient when you would just end up using a Reviver Hive, a Mender Drone, or what have you to sustain that survivability. Now, the below skill tier 6 and stacking those things up, if that works in the way that you can build upon those stacks and grant yourself the overcharge, then you have the BTSU gloves that grant you that overcharge by destroying the hive. This is just going to make overcharge be way more accessible to the common player, because I don't think a lot of people are using overcharge to begin with, because nobody cares. The overcharge effectiveness and the duration of it just isn't sitting right with the community, and I don't see a lot of people just like, well, this overcharge build that I made is hands down one of the best overcharge builds that I've ever made. Just watch it work. No one's talking about that like that. No one out there. Now, we go over to the chest talent. It is called Headhunter. Headhunter says, after killing an enemy with a headshot, your next weapon hit deals 125% of that killing blow's damage in addition to it, and it lasts for 30 seconds. The damage is capped at 15,000 of your weapon damage. Okay, that's cool. 15,000% of your weapon damage. Don't know the implications of that or the weight of how much that is. We'd have to see it in game. But basically, this is not going to challenge glass cannon. It's not going to challenge focus in the way that some people out there are thinking, that this is just going to be a headshot DPS overall monster. It's just another avenue that players are going to use that is going to give them more viability for the other things that are in the game, such as the gear sets, Negotiator's Dilemma, which causes that crit hit chance with the bleed and stacking it up to 3 enemies or 5 enemies if you use the chest piece and what have you. But it's going to also give the tip of the spear a really, really good synergetic type of skill that it was missing before, because the chest piece talent on the tip of the spear takes that extra weapon percent damage. I want to say that it's 20%, and it makes it 40% when you use the chest piece talent. Now we can replace the chest piece talent with this headhunter talent, and that's going to make combining the tip of the spear with such as the sharpshooter specialization and making that TAC 50 a real monster. It's just going to make it a one-hitter quitter, just boss killer. It's just going to be one of the, I think, king of DPSs when it comes to common content and trying to take out those who challenge you from a distance. It's just going to be a really good thing to put on some of these rapid hit sniper rifles, such as the Paratrooper is one of my favorite. And like other YouTubers have said, slow firing sniper rifles just aren't viable at the moment because of the way that the NPCs move in the game. There's no real static NPCs in the game. They get behind cover, you look at them, you look away from them, they duck back down, someone else pops up. You can't really get your headshot pops off because of the tactical implications that the NPCs are trying to accomplish, and it just really causes a headache with those trying to be a sniper in that slow firing sniper rifle type of game. You could use the White Death with up to, I think it's like 7,000 something damage it's supposed to put out, but every time you miss a shot, that's damage wasted with the slow reload speed, and nothing to increase that. But we are getting a buff to weapon handling and how weapon handling works, so it's not such a dead talent. We're going to see how weapon handling plays a bigger part in these slow firing marksman rifles that we have sitting in our stash, because I'm pretty sure, like a lot of people out there, if you're using anything that's a slow firing marksman rifle, you're probably using the Nemesis because of all the damage that it can do with that one shot burst. The next talent that we got going on here, the next and last talent that we're going to talk about, is going to be the weapon talent in sync. Now this weapon talent here was a much needed weapon talent that we needed in the game, because there's not many things in the game that synergize to help you out. You got to find a chest piece, and then you got to find a backpack, and then you got to find a perfect roll on a weapon to get half of the stuff that this one talent gives you. But this does make me question if the surge is going to be replaced. Now what this talent does for the weapon in sync is that it does grant you, hitting an enemy grants 50% skill damage for 5 seconds. That's cool. Using a skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 15% weapon damage for 5 seconds. Now, damage increases are doubled when both buffs are active at the same time. That's going to give you a plus 30% on both skill damage and weapon damage, right? Use that with kinetic momentum, use that with any of the other skill damaging things like spark and what have you. And when we're looking at a really big damage increase for a small amount of time, but that small amount of time, there's nothing here in the patch notes saying that this goes on cooldown once you do it. So this could just be like killer, that once you proc it and you proc it again, it may refresh itself. So the uptime on this talent itself could be astronomical. You could be looking at a straight up plus 30% buff for a good amount of time, as long as you have your weapon out, you have your skill out. And the skills that we have out that we use a lot are the chem launcher, and we have the assault drone, and we have the assault turret, and those skills alone grant you the versatility and flexibility to position yourself and lay down area of control effects and put pressure on the enemy that you normally wouldn't have within the game. So getting a gun with in sync is just way better than having a gun that has surge on it, which is going to grant you, I want to say it's a plus 20% buff to your skill damage for 25 or 27 seconds after you get that headshot. But in this case, all we have to do is damage the enemy. We don't have to be looking for perfection. We just have to put bullets down range. Now, this comes on an assault rifle, or if it's linked to anything specific like a marksman rifle, that's not bad. That's not going to make or break this talent from being used. I think a lot of people out there are going to use this in combination with the chem launcher, with the assault drone, with the assault turret, and then they're going to lay down some heavy fire and just overall melt these targets out there that otherwise would be hiding behind cover because of the tactical implications of the NPCs and how they play in the current game. So NPCs are getting a little bit of a nerf. There's going to be, I say a little bit of a nerf because all of our weapons are getting a little bit of a buff. Now they hit like trucks, and now we're going to be hitting just a little bit harder. Right now we hit like a Prius. Now if we get amped up to anywhere close to something stronger, it's always for the better. Now the next thing that I think they should look at is the amount of armor that we can hold. The overall armor amount of an agent, I think the cap should be doubled at least to give it a try to see where we're at with damage taken and damage given. Because now that we're going to have all these big buffs in the game, more people are going to be peeking over cover and doing stuff, but they're going to be taking more hits, and they're probably going to be relying on that tank. Now, having a tank out there isn't going to make or break a team, but I see where they're going, and I like the direction. So, with that being said, all good things must come to an end. Title Update 10, PTS patch notes. I'll cover the rest of the patch notes and all the other things that I feel like these patch notes are going into with the upcoming update and how things will change. I'm going to monitor it closely. I'm going to get back to you guys on it. Now, thanks for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.